today, what I want to start with is a very important aspect, 4 keys to success and happiness, both personal and professional. These may not be things you think are actually the important points in terms of success, but let me tell you, I believe that they are crucial. Empathy. If you have empathy, you can understand somebody else's point of view. It takes you away from being too bogged down in your own problems and issues and makes you bigger than yourself. And when you show empathy towards others in personal surroundings and in your professional work, there is absolutely no question that you're going to get better relationships with others because people can feel it. When they are not taken for granted, then they will give you better service if you're working with them, and you will have better personal relationships if you show empathy towards the people in your personal circle. Gratitude. Gratitude is a very important point too, because however bad your situation is, it could always be worse. However much trouble and tragedy you've had to go through, you can still see that certain things that have happened to you in your life are things that you really should be grateful for. I have a good friend who was given a terminal cancer diagnosis. That was 10 years ago. And he says that he is grateful for every day he wakes up in the morning. Every day he wakes up, he's grateful for. Accepting impermanence. That seems like an unusual thing to have in a key list for success and happiness. But the fact is that everything is impermanent. Whether you're looking at your relationships in your personal life, whether you're looking at how your company is working, whether you're looking at how your job is going, nothing stays the same. Yesterday is never the same as today. Today is never the same as tomorrow. And the benefit of accepting impermanence is not only does it make you really appreciate and not take for granted what you have right now, because you have an understanding that you're lucky to have it and it may not last. So enjoy it whilst you have it. But also, it changes your expectations so that you are more flexible if things do change, if you deal with obstacles, because you have an idea in your head that, okay, things change, nothing lasts. Things may get worse, but then things may get better. But accepting impermanence, which actually is a crucial part of, say, Tibetan Buddhism, if anybody has studied Tibetan Buddhist techniques, accepting impermanence is a very positive way to go about life. And the 4th point, you may not have heard about this, obstacles, adversity. We tend to be angry about it. We tend to feel that the universe doesn't like us when bad things happen. That's not true. Bad things don't happen to you because the universe doesn't like you. Maybe you've made mistakes that have helped create your obstacles, but often it's just the way the cards fall and it's not your fault. And if you try to cultivate a neutral attitude towards obstacles, see them as a learning experience, as a stepping stone to something better, then you're using them as a positive tool. Being angry, being sad, being depressed about the bad things that have happened to you really is not going to help you move forward. So even though it may not be an easy thing to do, cultivating a neutral attitude to obstacles is a very important point, and it's going to give you benefits in the future. And I'm going to give you an extra key because it's based on that word neutral. You really also need to give yourself neutral space in your life. Not be busy all the time, not always have your mind working and reading this and looking at your phone and checking your social media and following up on this and following up on that, because some of the best inspirations you're going to have or when you're doing something completely different to your work. It's going to come when you're doing swimming, walking on the beach, or wherever you can go for a walk in nature. You're going to find that inspirations, ideas, and your problem solving and your creativity is going to spring from those neutral periods in your day. And it's so important to make sure that you have those. You can also get those from meditation, exercise, all of those things give you a neutral space in your day, and you will find all kinds of ideas and all kinds of inspirations will come to you during those times. So don't spare yourself from those neutral times. You don't need to always be finding that you have your day planned. You need that neutral space. So here is my 6-part plan to overcome adversity. Number 1, find confidants and mentors. Number 2, cultivate friends, old and new. Number 3, my favorite as a Monty Python aficionado, laughter therapy. Number 4, love your body. Number 5, find your passion. And number 6, the hardest one for me, that's always a work in progress, mindfulness. Try to live in the present. So first of all, choosing confidants and mentors. And this is true whether you need to discuss a personal issue or a professional issue. A confidant provides useful advice that will help you move on and solve whatever problem you're trying to work through, and will keep things confidential. A confidant should keep things confidential. You may not want your deepest, darkest thoughts vented out, that you're venting on your confidant, to be public. You want somebody who's going to be gracious to you and keep things confidential. And these can be friends or paid counselors, but a confidant is more than a friend, because some friends won't want to hear some of your problems. They won't want to have you vent your deepest, darkest thoughts to them. And they won't maybe be happy to keep things confidential. They may be more gossipy than you would like. But a confidant can be a friend, but is more than a friend. And it's useful to have both male and female confidants, because especially in your personal life, you're going to find very different opinions when you talk to males versus females. And actually in your professional life too, you need both male and female confidants, because there is a different aspect that you'll get from each sex. Cultivating friends, old and new. I found that when I went through, when I was married for a long time, I let go a lot of my friends from England, from my pre-marriage days, from my broadcasting days with the BBC. And when my marriage collapsed, I found that I didn't have a friend circle left. And you're going to find when life changes on you, whether it's a professional change or a personal change, take a look at some of the friends you've let go, because you may want to revisit them. They may be people who you still have a good, strong connection to if you only make the effort to get back in touch. And you can do activities to make new friends, and those activities will gear you towards friends with similar interests. So do think about that, because you need friends old and new. And one way to make new friends is to initiate conversations. It's something that I find easy to do with my broadcasting background, but really anybody can do it, whether you're in line at the supermarket, whether you're next to somebody in a performance at the theater, just walking in nature, just making a conversation. Somebody might have a really cute dog. You want to tell them how much you like their dog, or whatever it is. Initiate conversations whenever you can, because that's how you build community. Very important. And again, like I was mentioning with the confidants, both male and female friends are important, because you get very different aspects of advice, of stories, and of connection from male and female. Laughter therapy. So Still on the friends, do find friends who bring you up, not down. When I was going through breast cancer, after I had already dealt with the infidelity of my husband and my marriage was splintering, I found that I let go of those people who just didn't make me feel good. I wanted people who I could laugh with, who would make me feel like I was in a positive space. And those are the friends that you want to cultivate. Also, when I was going through chemo and radiation, I gave up watching the news, even though I was a BBC broadcaster who always kept up with world affairs. No good. It's always bad news. So I gave up watching the news and I just watched comedies and not depressing dramas. So it's almost like walking a tightrope. You want to be informed about what's going on, but you don't want to be mired in all the negativity. You need to make space for comedy and laughter and positivity. But humor is not the same as positive thinking. I remember when I was going through breast cancer, people were rebuking me for negative thoughts and telling me that if I didn't stay positive, my cancer would return. Well, sorry, you have the cancer, you have the chemo and radiation. You see how positive you're going to feel. Actually, it's impossible to be positive all the time. And you can get stuck in this kind of tyranny of positive thinking. You should never feel bad about feeling bad. But humor lifts you up and puts you in a positive mood. For example, there's the story of Norman Cousins, who had ankylosing spondylitis. He was in excruciating pain. Doctor said he would never recover from his condition. And he found that watching just 10 minutes of humor, the Three Stooges and stuff like that on TV and funny movies, enabled him to have 2 hours of pain-free sleep. And eventually he found that his pain totally disappeared. And he saw humor as a tool for his healing. And it's important to think about humor at work as well as at play, because, you know, if somebody's giving a speech in your workplace, you remember the guys that put in humor rather than the people that are just pumping you with tons of facts and aren't laughing and don't throw in a joke here and there. Humor really lightens the atmosphere. It makes people feel like you're taking yourself less seriously, and it makes you somebody that they like more. So think about that. Humor at work as well as at play. It's important because humor is what gives humans humanity. Humor brings joy. So if you want to have joy rather than misery, put lots of humor in your life. My next point, love your body. Now, you know, I could say love your body and become beautiful. Well, you know, I'm never going to become a supermodel and super beautiful. I'm talking here about inner beauty. Inner beauty is what shines through. And there are various ways you show your love for your body. One of them is healthy eating. So that, for example, that horrible cliche of the woman who's been left by her man, lying in bed, watching television, spooning the ice cream from a tub, you know, that is about the worst thing you can do. It's not healthy eating, it's not looking after your body, and you're not using exercise there to banish the blues. Because actually, studies have shown that exercise is a better way of getting rid of depression than any antidepressants. That it's quite interesting when you look at some of the research out there about the positive effects of exercise. And I find outdoor exercise in particular to be incredibly effective for boosting my mood. I remember one friend of mine had this bout of such bad depression that she hardly ever, she didn't want to get up in the morning. And I said, just make 10 minutes, first thing in the morning, go out for a walk in nature. Just do that and see how you feel. And it was amazing. She said it made a massive difference to her mood. And she continued that as a habit to carry on. So exercise is crucially important. And the last point about loving your body is to try to maintain good sleep habits. Not having enough sleep can have as bad effects on your body as being as having too much alcohol. There's a wonderful book by Arianna Huffington called The Sleep Revolution, which covers all kinds of ways you can improve your sleep habits. One good thing is to give up screen time at least an hour before going to bed. Just chill. Don't watch television. Don't be glued to your screen or your phone. Give yourself at least an hour of chill time before you go to sleep, and you'll find that you sleep better that way. Next point, find your passion. That's so important. Think about what makes your heart sing. Music, art, volunteering, a business idea. Should you give up your day job with that? Well, not necessarily. If you've always had a hankering to play the saxophone and it's something you love doing, maybe you shouldn't give up your paycheck to try and make a living as a saxophone player. But, if it's a business idea, maybe. But we all need a reason to get up each morning, because that's what makes life worth living. And finding your passion is yet again another antidote to depression. I also want to mention that success is not the same as purpose, because you could be incredibly successful in your business life, but then you've made your first million, doesn't feel as good as you thought it might, so you have to go and try and make another million, still doesn't make you feel as good. Success is about doing things for yourself. Purpose is not only doing things for yourself, it's also doing things for others. And if you have a purpose in life, that is what makes your life worthwhile. So think about that. Try to find a way of your success also being a road to purpose in life. Sometimes you can't necessarily make those things the same, but you do need a purpose in life, because that's what makes you feel truly alive. Mindfulness. This is the last point of my 6-part plan. And as I said earlier, it's actually the hardest one for me, and it's a work in progress. You can't be mindful of the present all the time. But remember, the past is gone. No point churning about it. Oh, I should have done this. I should have done that. Oh, if only I'd done this. If only I'd done that. The future doesn't exist. Worrying about what might happen in the future, well, the future's fiction. All we have is now. And there are so many people that, even if they've had no adversity that they're trying to work through, never really are living in the present. They may have a wonderful party that they're at. They may be in beautiful surroundings, gorgeous natural surroundings. And all they're thinking about is, oh, I should have done that. Or, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? And they're not seeing the beauty that's right in front of their face. So it's really important to focus on the present. Focus on what you have in front of your nose, because what you're doing when you do that is you're choosing life, not death. That's what you're doing. So it's a really important way to make your life worth living. Focus on the present. And one thing that I have, and you'll have a link that you'll get after I finish the presentation today to this chocolate mindfulness exercise. It was, I'd love to say that I invented it myself, because I'm a chocoholic and I love chocolate. But in fact, it came from England, and they actually use it in schools in Britain to help make children more mindful. So if children can do it, so can we. And it's an exercise. All you need is a wrapped piece of chocolate, of candy. I love those Lindor chocolate truffles. And you do an exercise where you use all the senses. You use sound, you use sight, you use touch, you use your eyes, you use all of them. You use every sense, and of course, taste at the end, when you actually eat the chocolate. And it's a wonderful exercise in mindfulness. And it also makes you appreciate things better. So maybe you're not gobbling down candy next time you have candy if you've already done the chocolate mindfulness exercise. But check it out. It's a fun exercise to do. And then I do have 2 mantras to share with you. The mantra of my first book, Adulterer's Wife, How to Thrive Whether You Stay or Not, is that the best revenge is to get past the need for it. And that really goes for betrayal of any kind. Some people are betrayed by their lovers. Some people are betrayed in business. Some people are betrayed in other ways in their personal life, being ripped off, being financially taken for a ride, all the people who suffered from the Madoff scandal. It's a form of betrayal. And rather than getting mired in revenge strategies and wasting life energy on that, the best way to use that life energy is to use it to move forward, to move past that obstacle, to make your life better than it was before. And when I was going through breast cancer, I had a different mantra, and that's the mantra of my second book, the comic memoir, My Wild Ride, How to Thrive After Breast Cancer and Infidelity. My cancer mantra was information is power. And again, that's a mantra that you can use in so many forms, so many parts of your life. It's also a very, very useful mantra for anyone in the professional world. Be informed. Information will help you move forward in a better way than ignorance will. That goes without saying. So now I'm going to move on to talking a little bit about breast cancer. Breast cancer affects 1 in 8 women in the US and the UK. That is huge. So everybody will know somebody, even if they've never had breast cancer themselves, everyone will have a loved one or a friend who has gone through breast cancer. It's actually quite an epidemic. And breast implant illness is real. All you have to do is to look at Nicole Deruda's website, healingbreastimplantillness.com, and you'll see. So that's one of the issues I'm going to talk about briefly. And also, I'm going to talk about studies that link bras to breast cancer. And I'm going to finish with how to deal with all that unsolicited advice that anybody going through serious illness will get. My advice to you on all that advice is feel free to ignore it. So first of all, I'm going to talk about breast implant illness. I took a route that was one that some people disagreed with me on. One of my doctors and a lot of friends of mine thought I was crazy to turn down mastectomies. I've had breast cancer twice. I'm a 2-time breast cancer survivor. I'm a holder of that BRCA gene, similar to what Angelina Jolie has. And I was advised, not before she went public with her own story, but once she'd gone public with her own story, the doctors were very much more aggressive about advocating mastectomies and bilateral prophylactic mastectomies, even for people who had that gene but had never had breast cancer. I decided not to do a mastectomy. I went for lumpectomies instead. I felt that was better for my own personal situation. Everybody's different. But I have to say that what really put me off about the mastectomies is that the mastectomies aren't such a serious operation. What's a serious operation is the reconstruction. And so many people have had problems from the silicone breast implants. And the reason why I'm showing this slide is that this is despite one study that was so bad that it was good in a kind of Monty Python way, because this was a study that said that women who complained about breast implant illness were more likely to be neurotic. Come on, this was absolutely a ridiculous study. And it starts, if you can read the first line of that abstract, a causal relation between systemic symptoms and breast implants has not been established. Absolute rubbish. I have some stronger words I can use than rubbish, but I won't use them there. But anyway, even the FDA, which is not the speediest of organizations to tell you that something is dangerous, even the FDA is saying that there need to be warnings on silicone implants because of breast implant illness. And in fact, Nicole Deruda's Facebook support group for breast implant illness to date has over 175,000 members. And people find that once they have those implants removed, they start to feel better. But some people have had systemic problems for years, not knowing what the reason was. And then they find, oh, it's the breast implants. They have them taken out. They start to feel better. So I think that is a very important point. And so I wanted to put it in this presentation. The second point that I always talk about in terms of breast cancer as a breast cancer advocate in person trying to educate people about issues is the link between bras and breast cancer. So you can see the book Dressed to Kill that came out with a lot of very compelling research showing the link between bras and breast cancer is actually stronger than that between smoking and lung cancer. And Sidney Ross Singer and Soma Grismeyer's study that they did from 91 to 93 showed that bra-free women had about the same risk of breast cancer as men. And wearing a bra 24/7 increased cancer risk 125 times that of bra-free women. And so, I mean, how many men do you know with breast cancer? I think I know one, but I know a lot, scores and scores and scores of women with breast cancer. And as far as bras are concerned, the tighter it is, the longer you wear it, the worse the effects seem to be. Because according to the Singers, it cuts off lymph flow. And so any of the toxins and waste products that collect in fatty tissue, and we women have fatty tissue in our breasts, that is not moved out by the lymphatic system because the bras are constricting that area, and therefore you are more likely to have pain, cysts, and tumors. And of course, the modern habit of gender fluid young women wearing breast binders is actually like bras on steroids. So I would be very concerned that those women using breast binders would be increasing their risk of breast cancer. So if it were my daughter, I would try and do my best to prevent her from wearing a breast binder. Now, most other research backs up what the Singers say in this book, except for the 2014 Hutchinson study in Seattle, which showed no link, but it included only postmenopausal women, and it had no control group of bra-free women, which is a bit like studying the link between smoking and cancer and not including any non-smokers to compare to the smokers. But sadly, if you Google the link between bras and breast cancer, all you're going to see is that 2014 study that apparently debunks the Singers' research, but it is an incredibly flawed study. And there is way more research out there that shows an incredibly compelling link between bras and breast cancer. So when I got my cancer and I was going through chemo and radiation and doing a ton of alternative medicine as well, I was besieged by unsolicited advice, as I'm sure you would be if you've gone through serious illness yourself. You're going to find the same story. So I had all of these. This is a cartoon from my book, My Wild Ride, How to Thrive After Breast Cancer and Infidelity. It has a lot of information in it. It's very well researched. I'm an anal BBC journalist, but I also put in a lot of humor. But, you know, the hippy dippy friends came to me and they said, oh, chemo and radiation is toxic and doesn't work. And my more straight-laced friends said, oh, alternative medicine like what you're doing, it's pure quackery. And then somebody who's going to remain nameless actually shouted that advice to me. You got cancer because you're too tense. Relax and don't be so negative. Well, you know, we all know shouting at somebody really helps you relax. But the fact is, it's hard not to be negative when you're going through cancer, infidelity, adversity in general. It just is something you try not to be feeling all the time. But, shouting at somebody to relax is not going to work. And then, of course, I got the food Nazis. If you don't give up dairy, your cancer will come back. Well, I'm a Brit. I've got to have real milk in my tea. OT or soy milk won't cut it. So I kept doing that. And I didn't listen to these guys, all these people giving me advice. And you just have to go with your gut and do what feels right to you. And of course, I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you what you should do, and absolutely should not be doing that. But didn't stop these people giving me lots of friendly advice. But, did I make the right decisions in my cancer treatment? Who knows? All I can say is, to quote Monty Python, I'm not dead yet. So